I'm here to tell you, I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't born with a gold spoon in my mouth. And I didn't even have a platinum spoon. We had the same old spoons everyone else had, them stainless steel spoons. All right. And if I can do it,
Mm.
being born and raised in poor community, poverty, crime, right? Gangs, if I can do it, I know you could do it. My first deal was 208 units in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Do you want to take ownership of your financial future? Have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and with whom you want? Welcome to the top, the Take Ownership Podcast, the ultimate destination for Black people who want to learn how to build wealth through multifamily investing. We believe that multifamily investing is one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to our community. Through our podcast, we demystify the world of real estate investing and show you how to use multifamily properties to create long-term passive income streams and build equity. Each episode features expert guests, real-world case studies, and practical tips tailored to Black investors. Whether you're just starting out in real estate investing or you're a seasoned pro, you'll find valuable insights and actionable advice that can help you achieve your financial goals. Join us on the Take Ownership Podcast and start taking ownership of your financial future today.
All right, fam. Welcome back to the podcast, the Take Ownership Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. It's usual. It's your man DB. I'm here with my man Jerome. What's going on, Jerome?
Abundance to you, brothers. How y'all doing, man?
I'm doing excellent, excellent.
Good, man.
Yeah, as we always say, right, the whole aim of this podcast is to come and educate our folks as much as we can, demystify the whole everything that is to do with multifamily, and specifically Jerome and our guests here, we deal with multifamily. So real estate in general, but multifamily is our focus. And today we really have a very special guest here. Instead of me going ahead and giving, because he's got a long list of stuff, so I'm just going to say, Mr. Murphy, please go ahead and share with us. Tell the folks who you are and what you do. Give us a quick.
So just to give a little brief synopsis, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, and there's a reason why I'm telling everybody that I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, and but I reside in Jersey. Right now, I'm staying in Dayton, Texas, down here right outside of Houston, outside of Humble, and I'm managing a property here. But I have, right now, I have commercial property right here in Dayton, also Vicksburg, Mississippi. I've gone full cycle on 104 units, and I also run a commercial multifamily mastermind group, and I have a coaching program. And I've been into commercial for 6 years. I've had my license for 7, but and that's what I do. And I wanted to keep it brief because I want them to ask me questions, and hopefully we can get back to why did I say Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, do or die.
I feel like you got to say live. This one from Bedford Stuyvesant, representing BK. Like,
Bed-Stuy, do or die. Tell us about that, because we're about to get into it, man.
So the reason why I bring that up all the time is because there's a lot of people that feel that getting into commercial, dealing with multifamily, that can't be done. It's impossible. There's no way you could do that. How you buy a building that's 15, 16 million dollars, right? And as a young boy from Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, that wasn't, it was called Bed-Stuy Do or Die for a reason, right?
Mm.
And I want to tell everyone, I want, especially those that have that doubt,
Mm-hmm.
that have that limited belief. Oh, I can't do it. There's no way. That's just impossible. I'm here to tell you, I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't born with a gold spoon in my mouth. And I didn't even have a platinum spoon. We had the same old spoons everyone else had, them stainless steel spoons. All right. And if I can do it,
Mm.
being born and raised in poor community, poverty, crime, right? Gangs, if I can do it, I know you could do it. Your problem is you have limited beliefs.
Mm.
That's what you have to overcome.
Gotcha. So you mentioned a lot of stuff, especially in the beginning. You on full cycle, mastermind, commercial, how long you've been in it, 6 years, and all that stuff. But we're going to jump into all of that. But before we do that, why apartments? Why?
Well, apartments have the ability, it's a lot different than, I'm gonna say, the residential side. But when you look at apartments, you're looking at scalability. You're looking at what is it that your goal is? What are you trying to achieve? Where am I trying to go with my family? Okay. For me, I got into apartments because I saw the bigger picture. I saw that one, I was able to acquire it, which, yeah, my doubts were something a little different. It wasn't the apartments, but it was a little different. But I picked apartments because of the scalability. I picked apartments because of what I was trying to build for my family, which is a legacy, and everything that comes with owning such a big apartment complex. That question for me is, why did I pick this? I'm trying to leave a legacy behind for my family, to make it simple and sweet and short.
Mm. Love it.
Yeah.
So just a quick question. Well, not a quick question. Just kind of walk us through. You mentioned limiting beliefs. And is there any juxtaposition between, say, your first deal and any limiting beliefs that you may have had, and just kind of walking us through what that first deal looked like?
So my first deal, my limited belief wasn't the deal, it wasn't the units. And I'm gonna tell you why. The one thing about me, I have a strong belief in God.
Mm.
Okay. When I went through the boot camp, I had really already educated myself to a lot, doing a lot of reading. Again, strong belief in God, books in reference to limited beliefs, stuff like that. But the main book was God, okay, that Bible, right? And I said to myself, I said, if God didn't put no limits on me, then I have no limits.
Mm.
My doubts were, my limit beliefs were, how am I gonna get this money? How am I gonna get that money? But for some reason, I wasn't afraid of the units. So in the boot camp, so I could shorten up the story. In the boot camp, as I was going through it, the coach said, everyone must complete their criteria for what you want. People in the boot camp, they were 20 units, 50 units, stuff like that. But when he got to me, he said, okay, Darryl, what's your criteria? And I picked up my papers. I said, 100 to 300 units, $3 to $30 million. At that time, it was 1975 to whatever year that was. I went out for them because now it's 1980 to 2006. Okay.
Okay.
Value add or blah, blah, blah. And that's what I did. That's what I said, right? And when we went to lunch, everybody was like, yo, man, don't you think you're going a little bit too big? I said this right here. I said, when my God created me, he put no limits on me. And my God has no limits. So when he made me, he said, you ain't got no limits. Yeah. And that's what I told him.
That's a powerful thing to say, because when you first start out, right, naturally you want to start small, because naturally to you that's what kind of makes sense in a way, right? Because you might be coming from, let's say if you've done residential, right? You bought residential, you used to going, buying a one building and the price is 200K, 300K, right? And now you want to jump into this, and then you start realizing, okay, this one over here is 15 million. Okay, I know I definitely don't have 15 million. And when I bought my one family, I went to Bank of America, whoever, right? And they gave me this loan. And to qualify for it, I had to probably go through hell. But 15 million, I know I can't do it. So already people are just starting to think, well, I don't have 15 million. And then at the same time, I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of cousins and brothers with 15 million in their bank account either. So I don't naturally just say, all right, I want to buy this big place. Right? So naturally you start thinking, I want small. But what I've found is that when you want small, and there's nothing wrong with small if that's what you want to do as your thing, right? But in terms of apartment buildings, when you position yourself as, oh, I'm just going to do tens, you're already starting to put this in your mind whenever something bigger comes along. You're already limiting yourself, right? So going back to that limiting belief, right? You're already beginning to sort of psych yourself away from bigger and bigger, better deals, right? And what you find talking to a lot of people is that a lot of times when it comes to doing these deals, their bigger deals actually get more hooks, right? It gets more people coming to you, because for some people, the small deal is just not worth their time. The numbers might even be good, but for them, they just finished buying a 200, they just put their money towards 200 unit. And here you are, you're approaching them with a 10 unit. They're like, again, the numbers might look good, but to them, they don't even look at you, right? Because they just want something bigger. They want to be in bigger spaces. There's a lot more banks willing to land on that, because they just realize for, 200 unit, the kind of people that are involved are a lot more professional, right? It's a lot more business oriented versus maybe dealing with someone who's bringing up, 10 unit, right? So a lot of things that you're saying really, kind of holds true, and it holds true in the numbers, but also just in the belief wise that you're just talking about. So I just wanted to touch up on that.
Let me just say this right quick before we jump to your next question, because I never really answered Jerome's question. Jerome's question was, I think he asked how many units, or what was my first deal?
Yeah, first deal, yeah.
I never answered that question. And I'm a person, I like to answer those questions. My first deal was 208 units in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I look at that not as a negative. I look at that as a positive. Okay. Why a positive? I look at it as a positive because with my first deal, I had some limited beliefs on some other things, but God wanted me to know, you can do this. I'm showing you can do it. You just got 208 units under contract. He said, now, I showed you can do it. Keep doing it. When I came, my wife and I was in Tulsa, and when we got back home, I was like, yeah, where's the next one?
Next one, yeah.
Where's the next one? Because now it was proven to me there was no reason for me to have any limited beliefs. And I'm saying to everyone out there, look at your goals, Look at what you're trying to achieve. If you don't want to do 100, 200 units, as long as you are reaching your goals and hitting your marks, then you continue doing what you're doing. But don't let limited beliefs stop you from doing 100, 200 units. Let it be a totally different reason.
Right.
Okay? That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you very much.
That makes sense.
Hey, Derick, before we move on to the next question, I just kind of want to unpack a couple of things you said. Can you explain to us the wherewithal to back out of a deal being your first deal? And then you said we backed out, which implies you had a team or you was working with someone. So how did you get that framework of, oh, I need people with me and the wherewithal to have the skill set to say, all right, this is not what we're looking for your first deal? You know, usually our first deal, we just want to get it done.
Correct. The one thing that I drill in my coaching program is your investors come first. Not you, not no one. Your investors you must always think of your investors first, right?
That's what you're right.
So one, I had built a team. I had my property manager. I had a lender. I had investors. I had investors. So I had already constructed my team. While I was in Tulsa, I knew I needed an attorney. I knew so I built everything. Now, when we got to Tulsa, and there's so much that I want to tell you. I made a lot of mistakes. I was anxious, and this was my first deal. I wanted this property, right? So I don't want to jump ahead of the gun, man. But
Go ahead, man.
All I'm gonna tell you is I made a lot of mistakes. But when we got there, my wife and I arrived first, and then the property management team, I think, arrived the next day, because I got there the day before. The property management team arrived the next day. Another one of my partners were going to come in on day 3.
Okay.
But I wound up telling her not to come because we were backing out the deal. And we were backing out the deal because as we were going through doing our due diligence, the property management team, okay, so they were in the office, my wife's in the office, and they were doing the lease audit. The only problem was there were no leases. Right? 208 units, 50% occupied, right? And when we were asking for the leases, there were no leases.
Nah, that's crazy.
So I'm like,
like, who's running this? Oh my God.
there was a lot more behind it, but the main thing was there was no leases, right? The night before, my wife and I do believe the property manager had arrived that night before. So we went out to dinner, and then that night we cruised by the apartment complex to see what kind of activity was going on.
Smart.
So when we got back to the hotel, my wife and I, we said our prayers, and I said to God, I said, I don't do very well with parables, Lord. So if you're going to give me a message, you got to tell me just straight out, yes or no, because you can't send no parable till I figure it out. Make a mistake. And that next day, as myself and another property manager, we were touring the property. My wife, another team was in the property management office, and that's when I got the phone call. My wife said, "Stop everything. come back to the building. So I told the property manager, I said, come on, let's go. They just told us to stop everything. So he said, okay, let's see what's going on. And so we had a meeting outside, and that's when everything was revealed. Yo, he don't have no leases. He has had one single money order in an envelope. We don't know who's living in there, and so forth. And then it just started piling. So that's when they said, well, the prime manager team said, Darryl, I really think you should back out of this. I said, that's all I need to hear. So, right? Because I already asked God the night before, don't send me no people, because I'm not very good on river.
Right.
There you go. I want a yes or a no. And they said, no, back out of this, Darryl, this is not going to go well. I said, fantastic. And I just backed out of it. So I already had built a relationship with the property manager, my lender. I trust them. I know how they work. So yeah. So when we all sat down and talked, and my wife is there, my wife was telling me what was going on. They were telling me what was going on. They said, yo, Darryl, we need to back out of this one, man. This isn't going to work. I said, hey, let's do it. Back out.
Let me, Darryl, let me cover a few things that you mentioned that some folks may not really understand if that's their first time sort of listening. In the beginning, you said that you've gone full cycle. Can you explain what that really means?
Yes. Full cycle means you have bought the building, held the building, closed on the building. You sold the building. That's going full cycle. All right. So, and you know how you may hold it, well, back then, we were holding properties for 3 to 5 years. Now you may be holding property 5 to 7, depending on the economy or depending on the market where you are. Depending on what your business plan is. But that's what when you say you're going full cycle, you went from purchasing it to now you're selling it, and you're giving out your distributions and everything to the investors and everything. Everybody walking away happy.
Excellent.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You said that, for your first one, or even when you were in the boot camp, you had this criteria, right? And, people were looking at you like, man, this guy, he's going for it. And then you mentioned that, Tulsa was one of your first places, but it seems like it may no longer. So tell us, what is your buy criteria now, and how did you come up with that?
So my criteria is 100 to 300 units, 1980 to 2006, and I go by the year of construction. I don't like really saying B, C. I don't like using those letters because they're very subjective. Okay, what may be a B to you may not be a B to Jerome. Jerome may say, yo, man, there's way too many problems with this building. So just to make a long story short, that's why I say 1980 to 2006. I look for 5 cap, 5, 6 cap. I look for unit mix of 1, 2, 3s, right? Or 1, 2s or 2, 3s, but I don't want just one type, like all ones or, stuff like that.
Okay.
We go value add, even a stabilizer, I said. But for right now, I'm not really trying to get too much into repositionings and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, how did I build my criteria? A lot of my criteria comes from when you're dealing with brokers, you can't go to a broker talking about, hey, Mr. Broker, I'm looking for some properties in Houston. Send me what you got. Right?
Yeah.
The broker gonna look at you like you crazy. Like, yeah. You know what they're gonna say to you? Hey, you got proof of funds?
Yeah.
Remember those words, people.
Off the rip.
Funds. All right. And you buying a commercial property, you got proof of funds. Right. So, or if you go to a broker and say this, 25 to 300. Broker be like, nah, this person, they don't know what they're talking about. So when I was talking about making sure you have a criteria that's realistic, that was one thing that was stressed. don't don't make your numbers wide. Don't go from 25 to 300. If you do it, say 25, maybe 50, 75, or 100 to 200, 100, 300, right? That's good. That's a good span. As for your my year, how did I come up with that? There's a particular number that I look for because each year these buildings get older. Every building standing up on this earth gets older every single year, right? Do you want some of those hassles as they get older? So I'm trying to stay within a range where they're not too old, they're about just right. And remember, I said I'm building a legacy for my family, right? So I don't have any grandkids right now, right? But when that first grandkid get here, one of those buildings, whoever here first, boy or girl, they're going to get assigned 100 units.
Got it.
That's powerful right there. Powerful. Yeah.
But that's how I built my criteria based on age. I didn't want nothing too old, but I wanted to stay within that good point. As for the number, that was I went 100 to 300 because my goal is to have a certain cash flow every month coming in, and I knew I had to. In order for me to hit my goal, I had to have a certain number, certain number of units. And when it comes to the unit mix, if you do your research, you'll find that if you have one particular kind, say all ones, you'll find out that those units may have to turn over more often. Right. Okay, because after a while you're going to grow out of that, especially if you get married or have a kid. You got to move out. So and that's for value add. Really, I was looking more for value add, true, but I also was looking for cash flow. So I wanted to stabilize and so forth. So that's why, that's my criteria for that. And I also have a criteria for where I also acquire my assets. Okay. So you also have to pick a criteria for that, because you want to, you just don't want to go, when I first got into this, and believe me, man, this podcast could go on, right? When I first got into this, man, I was all over the globe, all over, right? Man, I was in Seattle, I was in New York, I was here, I was there, I was in places that I didn't know existed. But it was told to me, as long as you keep jumping around, you'll never get a deal. Yep. He said, because there's no way in the world you are building a relationship with that broker. He said, there's just no way. Yeah. So as I don't know if a lot, for all of you new listeners who's new to this business is a relationship building business. You must build a relationship. And if you're not building a relationship, you're going to have a problem finding a deal, and you're going to have a problem raising money.
Yes, perfect segue to my next question. You mentioned the importance of investors and that whole relationship. And I know you have a major event coming up in LA. We'd like to hear you plug, but just talk about the importance of raising money.
So,
and what's some cool tactics? I shouldn't say tactics, but just what do you do to develop that relationship?
So I want to say this, some of your listeners may have heard this right here. Don't worry about the money. Find the deal. The money will come. Okay. Some of you out there that's listening to this podcast, you know what I'm saying. Don't worry about the money. Find the deal. The money will come. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Go find the deal and see if the money comes.
So true, man. So true.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you must build a relationship. You must, okay. I don't know if to say the chicken or the egg came first, or the egg or the chicken came first, right? But in our industry, yeah, you building a relationship with investors, that should be going on every single day. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you should be telling people what you do. You should be building relationships, shaking hands, introducing yourself, meeting them, right? It's all about relationship. Who can you trust? Who do you not trust, right? So as you build in that relationship, go to these functions, okay? Go to seminars, go to meetups, go to conferences, and introduce yourself. The one thing that I do, and I look for people that go to these conferences and they be in the back of the room or sitting down in the corner. Go up to them and say, "What you doing here? Why are you here?"
All right.
Ask them, "Why are you here?" Right? Because if you're sitting in the back or sitting over at the table and you're not making, why are you here? Okay. If you go to them conferences, you want to talk to people. You want to get their contact information. You want to stay in touch with them, right? You want them to know what you're doing because you're building a relationship. When you get the deal and you got the relationship built, now you can ask for money.
We got about 7 minutes, so we're going to try to jump into just some light questions regarding. I know you mentioned your mastermind, and can see the logo back there. So tell the folks a little bit more about, aside from you yourself doing the investing, what else do you doing to educate the people in the community?
So, one, I have a coaching program. Okay, I do have a coaching program. Two, I run the commercial multifamily mastermind. We meet every single Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm also a member. I also sit on the board of the GOB. We are an educationally based organization. We provide network support, opportunity. Now you're probably saying, what you mean by that? You know what the network is, you know what the support is. What is this opportunity thing? Well, we believe in teaching. So every Tuesday, and I don't know if Jerome and DB has come to my mastermind, but every single Tuesday we have an underwriter. I love underwriting. Okay, I teach underwriting. I love underwriting. So every Tuesday we have a real show, and we go through the underwriting with everyone there. The purpose of us doing that is, one, to give the new investor the opportunity to ask questions that they probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do. So ask questions, and I encourage them, please ask questions because you need to know. This also gives the seasoned investors the opportunity to look at the deal before it's under contract, but they come and they look in, they asking questions, because once we get it under contract, guess what? I got some money. You see how that go?
Yeah.
Well, so in the mastermind, you have people that want to be sponsors, people that want to be GPs, people that want to be LPs. So it gives the opportunity for you to look at this deal, ask questions, and if you like the deal, you can say, hey, Darryl, keep us informed of this particular thing. And I encourage everyone, if you have a deal, you want some help with it, bring it to the mastermind. If it doesn't make sense, we're going to help you make it make sense.
Gotcha.
Right? Okay, now go back and do this, go back and do that, and so forth. Right? And that's what the commercial multifamily mastermind do, and the GOB. We believe in educating. We are a strong believer that you shouldn't have to go out there and pay $10, $20, $30, $40,000. There's too much technology out here for you to be paying all that money.
Right.
Say it
right?
again, man. Say it
Yeah.
again. You know, I was off the air. I was actually talking to Darryl, and before we actually ever got introduced. Now, I actually was talking to someone in my area, in DC area, who told me when I was actually getting started, he was like, "Well, you know, if you ever have a good deal, take it to Darryl's." He was like, "Take it to the Murphy Group." That's how you put it. He said, "Take it to the Murphy Group," and you know, if it's a good deal, they'll take a look at it. And, you know, people can help you out with it. So, just letting you know, your word is definitely in your you know, stuff is out there, even if you may not be hearing about people talking about it. So it's out there.
Yeah, sure.
And I just appreciate the space you're in, man, to be actively doing this as well as paying it forward, given your passion. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate just the space that you're in.
Hey, thank you, man. And listen, I can't, you know, so the only thing I'm gonna tell everyone out there, I thank God for opening my eyes. And I thank God for letting me see that there are no limits to me. And I just want to say one more thing before we go, because there's one thing that I really want, I want to say this. The first book I read, and I could just about guarantee neither one of you could even think about the very first book I read that made me feel this way. Can y'all just imagine what book it was? Can you? Either one of you?
It's not
Rich
that,
Dad Poor Dad. That's
not
the
that
goal.
typical rich
Nope.
dad poor dad, right?
Nope. Frederick Douglass.
Oh,
I
man.
read the works of Frederick Douglass, the autobiography of I read all his works. Frederick Douglass, believe it or not, was a motivator to me. And that man is, I know he's been dead for hundreds, you know what I'm saying? But when I read his work,
Makes sense.
I was like, yo, there's no reason for me to say I can't do something. You want to change yourself? Look in the mirror. Change who's in that mirror, and you change the world. Change yourself. Change your thought process. Change the way you believe. Listen, you want to get into commercial? Hang out with commercial people. Come to our meetings. Start associating yourself with us, right? Talk to us. Meet with us. Get rid of that limited belief that you can't do something. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well,
Good looking out, man.
Jerome, I know you'd like to close out with that one question. I'll let you go ahead with that. It sounds like Darryl's got it all covered.
I know. I feel like he already answered. But again, the Take Ownership podcast. Darryl, what do you take ownership of?
Man, listen, ownership. What do I take ownership of? God. You know, I love God. Man. I love for God, I wouldn't be here.
Love it.
Slave.
Cool.
The way he created us with limits. Why are we putting limits on ourselves? So, but just don't put limited beliefs. Like I said, Frederick Douglass was his autobiography, all the works of Frederick Douglass. I read it, and it was so motivating, you know, comparing that time to this time, what they went through back then as slaves, and us today, man, come on. And you're gonna
I'm
still
touch
talk
agreement.
about you still talking about something that man, I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Yeah. It's that
Darryl,
perseverance, man.
yeah, you guys. I mean, that's the theme of this. Taking ownership and also, you know,
Yes.
limiting beliefs. You know, get rid of that limiting belief because, you know, like you said, that's a killer, right? That's a killer.
Yeah.
So, you know, tell the folks how can they get in touch with you.
So if anyone want to get in touch, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Darryl Murphy. I think I'm Darryl Murphy Senior. Yeah, Darryl Murphy Senior. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Now on Facebook, I'm Darryl Murphy Baynard, Baynard. Reach out to me or shoot me an email. Darryl Murphy, Murphy, Baynard, Baynard, group.com. darryl.com. I'll be more than happy to answer questions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'll put Darryl stuff in the links or in the description for anyone who wants to get in touch. And definitely do get in touch. And definitely gonna try to make it to one of your Tuesday sessions. Because like I said, even before we had this meeting, I already had people telling me how helpful it was for them. So I'm pretty sure I can come in there and learn some stuff too. So
Great.
Jerome,
More than welcome.
absolutely. Thank you. Jerome, let the folks know, man, how they get in touch with you. If they don't know by now, this
Yeah,
is
just
so they should know by now.
yeah, I know, right? And I did slide into your underwriting, Darryl. So I appreciate again all the gems you dropped. But holler at us. We invest in Houston, Avery and Ivory Capital at durable.co. Avery and Ivory Capital at durable.co.
All right, and as for me, want to get in touch with me, just hello at carboncapital.com, or you can just go to the website. It should be a form and they can fill out as well. All right, everything will be in the description. Darryl, thanks again, man. Really appreciate you coming through, dropping some
Hey,
gems.
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Really powerful
Thank you,
stuff,
brother.
man. Like you said, when you start out, the idea of going from zero maybe to 300, that's just not something that even enters into people's mind, right? That's just, it's bananas. It's beyond thinking, right? So what you drop, definitely, hopefully those who are listening, that sort of motivates them into thinking that, okay, all right, it's very doable. I just need to surround myself with the right people. So really appreciate you coming through. All right.
Thank you.